All right, everybody. So welcome to tonight's Building Your Network event. As we have already gotten started, we're going to start networking right off the bat. So let us know in the chat where you're calling from, why did you sign up for this event, what are you hoping to learn, and then of course, like what you're studying, what school you go to. It'll help me know what to talk about in terms of like what you're studying, what type of job you're hoping for. And like I said, tonight's event is building your network. So start networking with each other, pop your LinkedIn in the chat, start connecting with each other. You already have something in common attending this event. So start connecting. Okay, we'll do some brief introductions first. So my name is Keelin. I am a career coach for the past 2 years. I've been working almost exclusively with web developers, UX, UI designers, data software engineers. So really helping people get jobs in the tech space. So it's nice that we have a computer science person in the chat. I'm sure I'll be able to answer some of your questions. And I'll pass it on to my co-facilitator, Katarina, for her to introduce herself.
Thanks, Keelan. My name is Katarina, and I'm an HR manager and also career coach. I've been like in HR for over 5 years now. I was also an international student when I came to Canada and I started school. So I have like a little bit of experience, and I understand, like what international students are going through. I know the journey, so I'm here to support you and answer any questions really that you might have.
Thanks. Yeah, I love having Katarina here because she has, like she said, not only like the HR background, so she's the one that will like go through resumes and like conduct interviews and all that. So she has that perspective, and then also the international student perspective as well. So, all right. I apologize if you can hear my cat screaming in the background. I've been working all day and she wants to touch it. Okay, so I don't think you can actually turn on your camera, but you can request to unmute your microphone. So if you do have a question that you'd like to ask out loud, you can just pop your little Zoom hand up, and then we can kind of like bring you onto the stage where you can speak and ask your question out loud. But of course, just feel free to use the chat as well for questions as they come in. This session is being recorded. It will be shared with all of you by email after the session as well. And we're going to talk about some future events that you can register for at the end. But Katarina, if you could just pop the link sometime in the chat so everyone can see the future Devon events coming up. Okay. So tonight's agenda, we're going to start off by talking about something called the hidden job markets. We're then, because it's the Building Your Network event, going to talk about all different types of strategies to grow and build your network. We're going to talk a little bit about cold messaging. So that is when you're sending a message to somebody who doesn't know you and isn't expecting a message for you. So this is a really great strategy on how to grow your network. We're also going to play like a little bit of a game where we'll put up a cold message on the screen, and then you guys can vote if you think it is a good message or not a good message. And then we're going to leave plenty of time at the end for questions. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us, again, pop them in the chat throughout the presentation, and we can pause and answer questions, but we'll also have plenty of time to answer questions at the end as well. Okay, so let's get started first. Does anybody know what the term hidden job market is? Has anyone heard this term before? The hidden job market. Is this familiar? Is this new? Just put like a yes or no in the chats. If not, don't worry. I am going to tell you. No? Okay. Nice. Okay. So the idea of this hidden job market, oftentimes you'll see it represented as an iceberg, like you can see in this photo here. So the idea is that we have the open or the public job market. Those are the jobs that you see when you hop on Indeed, you hop on LinkedIn, you hop on other job boards. These are the jobs that are being publicly advertised. And then there's something called the hidden job market, which is kind of that part of the iceberg that is underneath the water there. So kind of the job market that not everybody gets to see. There's a lot of debate on what percentage of jobs are actually within the hidden job market, but a lot of people say between like 70 to 85%, kind of in that range. And when we're saying the hidden job market, it's kind of a position that's being filled by somebody that's in the recruiter or the hiring manager's network. So when a hiring manager or somebody at a company has an open job to fill, oftentimes before they post that job publicly, they will look within their network or within their employees' network to try to find somebody to fill that role. So for example, when I started working with Devant as an event coordinator, there was no job posting. There was no like job that I applied to. I just knew people that worked at Devant that were able to refer me for the role. And then I met with the hiring managers and was brought on. I actually conducted a little bit of an interview earlier today with somebody who's interested in working with Devant. And again, no job posting or anything. They just knew somebody who worked in the company and sent an email. So it's kind of the idea that there's all these jobs out there that you could be filling that you're not going to find on Indeed, you're not going to find on LinkedIn. The only way to find them is by tapping into your network. So it's all about uncovering those unadvertised jobs. And also, people sometimes say that the hidden job market is part of advertised jobs as well, because tapping into your network kind of gets you first in line for those advertised jobs. Katerina, do you have any stories from like an HR perspective about like what the hidden job market is? And do you think that 80-20 is real, or what do you feel about that?
I think it's yes around that. I found the job through a manager, my manager, and she was a friend with somebody else that was looking for an HR. So she just like recommended me and I got the job. They were getting ready to post that role. And then there was just like a conversation. Somebody knew that I was looking for a job, recommended me, and then I got the job. A lot of times companies, they will post at one platform only. So if you're not looking like all of the platforms, you might miss that. So that's why it's important, like to network and to reach out to people and kind of like tell them, right, if you're job searching. But yeah, like I definitely agree. A lot of times, like people will send us their resume, and if we want to like open a role, we don't even like post it if we have somebody that it's like, that matches that experience. So I believe this is true, right? Like I think this is true. And then people should like keep networking and keep like meeting new people and share, like that they're looking for roles.
Perfect. Thanks, Katerina, from the HR perspective of things. Okay, so now we're starting to get questions of we've understand the importance. We know that we've got a network. We know that we have to get into the hiring managers network. Now the question is, how can we do that? And don't worry, the rest of the presentation is about that. We just include that slide to emphasize that networking should really be a core focus of your job search. So oftentimes when people are conducting a job search, me as a career coach, I never recommend just like hopping on Indeed and applying to jobs, or hopping on LinkedIn and doing easy apply, applying to jobs through there. Of course, I recommend those things, but I never recommend that is the only thing you should be doing. Networking should be a huge part of your job search. It should be a core focus of it. And even if you are not actively job searching, when I was a student in university, if I could go back and do it again, I would have started networking in year one. I did far too little networking when I was a student, and I really should have been taking advantage of all of the wonderful people that were around me. So even if you are a student attending this, even if you are nowhere near ready to job search, you still have a few years of school ahead of you, you should still be networking and doing the things that we're going to talk about in this event. It's better to start early, because then when you graduate, you're going to have a huge network of people that are going to be able to help you find a job really quickly. Okay, so tell me a little bit in the chat, or if you'd like to raise your little Zoom hands and I can unmute you if you want to speak out loud. Let's talk about some strategies that you guys have used to grow your network. So since you've moved to Canada, how have you expanded your network? How have you started to meet people in Canada? And it doesn't have to be professional. It could even be like, how have you made new friends since you came to Canada? Let me know in the chat. I'm curious. Walking your dogs, yes. That's always a great way. People always want to stop you and pet your dog and start talking. Volunteering, another really, really excellent one. Fantastic. Anything else? Classmates, maybe, just talking to people that you share classes with. Relatives, yep. Teachers, perfect. Supervisors at the workplace, making friends. Yeah, absolutely. If you have a part-time job, it can be an excellent way to build your network. I like how you included teachers as well and professors. That's something that I wish that I did when I was back in school, like maintain those relationships with your professors, because especially if they're professors in the industry that you're hoping to go into, they probably know so many people in that industry, many of which are probably hiring. Cold messaging through LinkedIn. Nice. Fantastic that you've already started to do that. Companies that you worked in the past that are here as well. Ooh, that is smart. Like a company that you worked in at your home country that also exists in Canada. That's a really good foot in the door because you already have that experience. Amazing. Okay, thanks for sharing, friends. Let's talk about some more strategies. You actually hit a lot of them. So somebody said supervisor at the workplace. So that could be like people at your part-time job, coworkers, supervisors, managers at your part-time job, or at an internship, a summer internship as well. And once you stop that part-time job, or once you stop that internship, still maintain connections with those people. Keep in touch with them on LinkedIn. That's a huge part of networking as well, not just making those connections, but maintaining those connections so they remember you and think of you in the future when jobs come up. Volunteering, somebody said that in the chat. That's fantastic. That can be an excellent way to build your network. And Katarina, if I remember correctly, I think you did some volunteering when you came, and that helped you in your job search.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. I was job searching for like 5-6 months, and I found a HR volunteer role. So it was amazing because I had something to include in my resume, and I was like, like keeping up to date with the HR trends. So I didn't feel like I was without a job, even though it was like a volunteer role.
Perfect. Yeah, volunteering, proof that it works. LinkedIn groups, which we can talk about a little bit later when we hop over to LinkedIn, joining professional affiliations, or even affiliations through the school that you go to. On the same note, getting involved in clubs and organizations. I'm sure your school has tons and tons of clubs and organizations on a variety of different topics, and it doesn't have to be work related. So I'm sure your school does have clubs and organizations that are more professional or business related and catered to business networking. But even joining like the soccer club at your school, or joining like the science club at your school, or even just like a fun hobby that you have, that is still networking, and that's still building connections with people. Another one that you guys got in the chat, professors and support staff. That extends to even like academic advisors at your school, or like a career consultant at your school. These people are here to help you. So don't be afraid to network with them. Don't be afraid to ask them questions, to ask them to help you expand your network, to introduce you to people that they know. Participate in competitions. So somebody said that they are studying computer science. A hackathon might be a really cool one for you. Like a debate competition, anything like that is a great way to network. And then, of course, the common one that people think of, attending networking events or workshops like this one, or job fairs, or different business social events. That can often be a really good foot in the door for networking, because you know that everyone at those events is there to network. So people are not going to be hesitant when you come up to them and start talking to them and asking questions. So by no means does networking have to be specifically at networking or job fairs, but it can be a really, really good foot in the door, because you know that everybody at those events is also there for the same purpose. And then once you get comfortable networking at those types of networking events, you can start expanding and going to people at your school, going to professors, going to people that you're just friends with, and getting them to introduce you to people in their network as well. Okay, and cold messaging. So somebody actually said this in the chat, that you've already started to cold message people on LinkedIn. That is absolutely fantastic. That is something that I had to do a lot of practice on when I was job searching, just getting the confidence to send that cold message. So I love that some of you have already started doing that. That is amazing. If you have not, don't worry, we're going to talk about it. But for those of you who don't know, cold messaging is essentially contacting someone who doesn't know you and is not expecting a message from you. So you do have to reach out, let them know who you are, let them know why you're contacting them, and then make some sort of an ask to let them know what you want from them. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in a bit, but the ask has to be something that's not going to be too much of a burden for them. So like a small ask. And we can look at some good examples and poor examples as well. So you kind of know what's appropriate to ask and what isn't. I'm a huge fan of cold messaging. I've used cold messaging to get my last 3 jobs. I can tell some stories about that in a bit, but huge fan of cold messaging. If you're not already doing this, I would really, really recommend it. Okay, so now let's talk about how to approach cold messaging. You really need a plan for cold messaging. So I would not just recommend hopping on LinkedIn and starting to blindly message people. It's really more about quality over quantity when we're talking about cold messaging. So sometimes it's good to make a list, or you can actually use LinkedIn to kind of make that list for you, which I'll show you when we hop over to LinkedIn. But make a list of who you're going to be contacting, what types of people you want to be contacting. So maybe that is people within a specific company that you're really, really interested in working for. Maybe it's people who are in a field that you're hoping to go into. Maybe it is alumni at your school. So try to make a list of the types of people that you want to be contacting, and then we can hop over to LinkedIn and start researching and finding these people. We're then going to find their contact information. So today we're going to be talking about how to contact them on LinkedIn. That's an easy one. You can connect with people and send them a little bit of a message. You can also use tools to find their email. If you want to get right into their email inbox, that's a strategy as well. Or sometimes you'll find somebody on LinkedIn that's really, really interesting, but you can see that they're not very active on LinkedIn, so you don't know if they're going to see your message. That's when you can try to find their email address and get into their inbox. And also setting timelines. So I always recommend to people who are job searching to connect with a certain amount of people on LinkedIn every week. So maybe when you're just starting, like 3 is a good number. So say this week, I'm going to connect and send a cold message to 3 different people on LinkedIn. So like by the end of this week, that is my goal. And then of course, once you get more comfortable with it and more familiar with it, you can start expanding that number. But setting a timeline is always a good idea. Okay, so now that we've got our plan, we've got to construct our message to increase our chance of getting a reply. First and foremost, you have to understand that the goal of your first message to somebody should not be to get a job offer. Okay, that is the end goal, but we've got to plant the seeds first. Okay, so the first message should not be something like, "Hello, sir, are you hiring? Please get me a job at your company." You very likely will not get a response to that message, or you will get a response that says something like, "Sorry, we're not hiring at the moment," or something like that. The goal of that first message is really just to introduce yourself and let them know who you are, why you wanted to connect with them, and why you're reaching out, okay? But it should not say something as blunt as, "Hello, please give me a job," or "Please hire me." Okay. 60 words is good. I believe LinkedIn gives you around 350 characters for that first message. And you're always going to want to construct a customized message for the person. And again, I have some examples later, some good examples and some bad examples about what to say in that message, but it always want to be customized for the person that you're reaching out to. A really good strategy that I like to use is including something specific about that person. So something that you found interesting in their profile. Maybe they went to the same school as you, or maybe they work in an industry that you want to get into. But if you could include something specific about them, it really increases your chance of getting a response. So for example, if I get a message on LinkedIn that just says, "Hello, ma'am, I'm happy to connect with you," I will probably reply and say something like, hey, so-and-so, thanks for connecting. And then the conversation just kind of ends there. But if I get a message that is specifically customized for me, I can tell that the person looked at my profile. They say something like, hey, Keelin, I saw that you did the career development practitioner program at George Brown. I'm interested in taking that program, or I'm currently in that program, and I'd love to chat with you about your experience. Immediately, I'm going to reply to that message because, one, I know that they looked at my profile. I know that they researched a little bit about me. They're making a specific ask. They're asking me to talk about something specific that we have in common. And it just gets the conversation going naturally. So instead of just saying, hey, so-and-so, thanks for connecting, and then the conversation's over, it then turns into a conversation. Hey, so-and-so, thanks so much for connecting. Wonderful to hear that you're in the program right now. I'd love to chat with you about my experience. And then away I go talking to them and the conversation starts, okay? And again, be clear about why you're messaging them. So again, make some sort of small ask. So like, I'd love to hear about your experience at this school, or I'd love to learn a little bit about what it's like to work at ABC company, something like that. A small ask to get the conversation going, but you're not going to want to say, hey, I saw that ABC company is hiring. Can you give me an interview? That's too big of an ask. So we want to do something small that's not going to take too much of that person's time, or that's not going to be a burden for them, especially considering this is your first message to them. They don't know you yet. We really have to build that relationship before we start making big asks. Okay. It's also a good idea to not include attachments in your first message, like your resume, for example. It kind of goes with the same rule of not sending a message and saying, hello, please hire me. Instead, when you attach your resume, it kind of goes along with like, hello, please hire me, because you're basically sending your resume saying, hey, this is my resume. Do you have any jobs available? Can you hire me? Can you send my resume to somebody? Again, too big of an ask right off the bat, and people are very likely not going to be comfortable referring you to a role if they don't know anything about you. A strategy that I like is actually sending a voice message or for like a personal touch. This is totally optional. Text is totally fine, but I've gotten a few voice messages on LinkedIn, and I think it's a really great way to like add your personality and stand out. I think it's only happened to me 1 or 2 times, and I remember those people because they kind of went to the next level and added a little bit of a personal touch. And then their personality comes through as well, much better on a voice message than just through typing. And if it's somebody who, when you go to their LinkedIn profile and you see that you have mutual connections, I'll show you this on LinkedIn. Reach out to somebody and ask for an introduction. I've done this before. If I go on somebody's LinkedIn profile who I really want to connect with, and I see somebody that I know that is already connected with them, oftentimes I will go to that person and say, hey, I'm really interested in connecting with so-and-so. Would you be open to making that introduction for me? Okay, so all great strategies on how to increase your response rate for cold messages. We're going to play a little bit of a game, but I'm going to just open the chat first. Katarina, have I missed anything?
Yeah, we have some questions. Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So the first question is, and maybe we answered this, but I think you answered this, how to be in the network of the hiring manager. I think all of the strategies that Keelin just shared with you, probably like you should use one of those to kind of like be in their network. Do a little bit of like of research. Find the companies that you wanna, like find a job. There is an option, probably Keelin will show you on LinkedIn, where you can see who is working at that company, so you can always connect with them. Let's say if you're interested in working with Google, go on LinkedIn, find Google. There is an option where you can click on people that work with Google, and then you can see their names and you can connect with them and use one of the strategies that Keelin shared with you. The next question is, I have applied to jobs based on my eligibility, but I don't get reply. So there are a couple of things here. The first thing is, when you apply to the job, did you, like review the job posting and try to use some of the keywords that were included in the job posting on your resume? I'm saying this because a lot of companies use the ATS, the applicant tracking system, which the applicant tracking system is like reviewing the resumes, and based on keywords, you know, like they kind of like sort the resumes. So if you have a lot of the keywords that are included in the job description, your resume will be pushed forward and, you know, like sent to the hiring manager. But if you don't include any of those keywords, you might not be able, you know, like to get even a call. Your resume won't even make it, you know, like in that pile for the hiring manager to review it. So that's one option. Another option, it's always the experience. I know that, like, especially if somebody's looking for like 5-6 years of experience and you only have 1 year, I always say to people, apply, but there are things where, you know, like you have to be careful, because if it's a senior role and you're at entry level, 99% of the time, you know, like it's because probably you're not like qualified yet for that type of role. So like think of that as well. And another, well, I don't know, like another thing that I can kind of like think of is maybe the competition is so big and sometimes they already have a person in mind, and can be through like the hidden job market, through networking, right? Maybe the position got on hold. Like right now, I'm recruiting for a position where like I have 11 applicants. The management called and said, we have to put this on hold. Like, we know, like, I'm not sure when we're going to resume. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to say no to these applicants, right? But also I don't want to like keep them waiting and not know like what is happening. So you might, you know, like that might be happening as well. So those are some of the things that I can think of. Like, Keelin, you like, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you hit a lot of them. And sometimes just using these strategies and making connection with somebody in the company will help you get an interview, or will give you answers to some of these questions. Like, I've applied for jobs in the past and I've reached out to somebody on LinkedIn and they said exactly what Katerina just said. Like, I had gotten responses saying like, oh, actually, the last I heard, we were on a hiring freeze, so our company's not hiring anybody. And then, you know, okay, it wasn't anything personal. The company just decided not to hire for that role. But also sending a cold message, reaching out, that person could then go to the hiring manager and say, hey, so-and-so just messaged me on LinkedIn. They said they applied to this role. I think it sounds like they'd be a really good fit. I'm just confirming that you received their resume, or something like that, which can help you get an interview as well.
Perfect. And another thing that I forgot to add is also make sure that you show the skills that are related to the job. A lot of times I receive resumes where I see like so many positions, and I know that some of the skills, of course, are like transferable skills, and that's 100% like correct. But sometimes you need to like include, especially like the first page should be very similar to what, you know, like the job, you know, like the company is looking for in a candidate. So always like remember that, because if you're applying for like an IT coordinator and you include the first thing that they see is like you working in retail, or maybe like working, you know, like as a server, then might be like, okay, they don't have any experience. You need to make sure that you kind of like showcase the most like the transferable skills, and also the skills that are like very similar to what they're looking for. So that's something else that you know, like that definitely like you should pay attention when you tailor your resume, and you should make sure that you tailor your resume according to the job description. The next question is that okay, so this can we have a student, and am I capable to apply for permanent full-time jobs in Canada? So as a student, you're allowed to work around 24 hours or 30 hours. I'm not sure like what the law is, but I remember when I was an international student, it was 24 hours. So you're not able to get a full-time permanent job while you're in school. You can only get, I think, a part-time job. But during the summer, so if you are like a full-time student, you have fall and winter semesters. During the summer, when you're not in school, while you're still in your program, you're allowed to have full-time jobs. Definitely check with this with like on the government website, because a lot of things are changing. But I think as a student, you cannot work full-time hours, because your visa, your documents will kind of like your work permit, student work permit will tell you how many hours you can work. And I think it was like 24 hours. So just to answer to your question, while you're in school, you can work part-time, and when you're on summer break, you can work full-time from, I think it's around like May until August.
Awesome. Thanks, Katarina. Yeah, I was just trying to Google quickly while you were talking. I can't find the specific number, but there are definitely limits, like Katarina said. We do, Devon, once a month offers a workshop or an event that is called Q&A with an immigration lawyer. So we bring in a we bring in an immigration lawyer, and you basically have an hour to ask them questions. So this would be a question that I would recommend. And I have the specific date at the end of this workshop, but I believe the next one is in 2 weeks. So I would definitely recommend going to that. It's totally free. I always recommend it. Lawyers are expensive people. So whenever you have the opportunity to ask a lawyer a question for free, great opportunity.
So sorry, Keelin, I just
Yeah.
found it's 20 hours per week now.
Okay,
Before,
okay.
I remember when I was a student, it was 24, but now it's 20 hours per week.
Okay.
So
thank you.
yeah, half of the full-time hours.
Okay, let's play a little bit of a game now. I've got some examples of some good and some not so good cold messages. Okay, so usually we do reactions, but I don't believe we can do reactions because it's webinar mode. So let's just use the chat, and you could just say yes or no, why you think that this is a good message to send or why you think it's a bad message to send. And remember all of those tips we gave before about what you should include and what you shouldn't include in your first message. Okay. Okay. What about this message? Hello, ma'am. How are you? What do we think about this message? Is it good? Yes. Or not so good? No. Just put yes or no in the chat. Let me know. And if you are eager, you can also tell me why you think it's a good message or why you think it's a not so good message. Oh, we've got one. We've got a yes. Anybody else? Do you think yes, this is good? No, this is not so good. What do we think? I think that this is an okay message. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with this message, but it's not a conversation starter. So if I got this message from somebody on LinkedIn, I would likely say, hello, thanks for connecting. I'm doing well. How are you? Something like that. I don't know who this person is. I don't know anything about them. I don't know why they reached out to me. I know that they're friendly. Like they reached out, they were very polite. They asked how I was doing, but that's it. I don't know why they're connecting. It's not a conversation starter. And very, very often this conversation will not go anywhere. I'll respond, I'll say, I'm doing well, thank you, how are you? And then they'll either reply and say good, or they just won't reply at all and the conversation's over. So nothing wrong. This is a great way to start a message. Hello, how are you? But then I would definitely recommend adding more. It's just not enough. Okay, let's try the next one. Here's one that's a little bit longer. Hi, Kumar. I saw you joined Google a year ago. How have you enjoyed the work environment in the IT department since starting with the company? I'm starting a job search myself, and Google is one of the top companies on my list, but I always like to ask firsthand about the environment at a company. How about this? Do we like this message? Yes, we like it, or no, we do not like it. Ooh, we've got a thumbs up. Okay, we can do reactions. Thank you. Yep, we've got some thumbs up. Okay, does anybody want to let me know in the chat why we think that this is a good message? We got hearts, love it. Any volunteers? Why do we think that this is a good message? I do agree though. I also think this is a good message to send. I like this one. I think this one is a good example. Why do we think that this one's a good one? I wish Zoom told me if people were typing, so I knew.
Just a reminder that you can also use your microphone. You can just unmute yourself and you can let us know.
Oh, shows interest at the company. Yes, absolutely. It shows that they've looked at this person's profile. They know that this person looks at Google and the IT departments. This is obviously a tailored message. This person took the time to write this message specifically for them. Definitely shows interest in the company. It says that Google is one of the top companies on the list. Another thing that I really like about it is they're making a specific ask, but it's not a huge ask. It's saying, how have you enjoyed the work environment in the IT department since starting at the company? And that's a great ask. It's a great conversation starter. You're asking something of them, but it's not a huge ask. It's not going to take too much time out of their day to reply and let you know how you like their job. So yeah, if I got this message, of course, I do not work in the IT department at Google. I wish I did, but I would, if somebody sent me a message similar to this, I would definitely respond. I would be impressed. I would give them a lot of information about my work. How about you, Katarina? You like this one as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's actually like starts a conversation, and it like looks that the person took their time to review, like the profile. They know what they're doing. They look like very interested in, like on hearing more. That like tells me that they're committed to what they're doing. They're very, like they know, like what they want to do like in the future, right? Like they kind of like look like they have a plan. It's not just like, oh hi, like how are you, like just like a very general, like very determined. So like it's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I like this one. Yep, exactly, Marcelo. It invites a response. So your conversation starter, it's a good intro. And again, because it's so personalized, you're much more likely to receive a response. I like to use the example of like sales emails. You know how when you open your inbox, I'm sure you have emails from tons and tons of companies that you can tell are just mass emails that have been sent to hundreds, thousands of other people. So you're not going to respond to those emails, of course. But if you receive an email that addresses you by name, says something specific about you, it's clear that this person has written this email specifically for you, those are the emails that you respond to. And it's very similar on LinkedIn as well. If somebody gets a message on LinkedIn that could just be a copy and paste message that looks like they sent it to hundreds of other people, they're going to be less likely to respond than if it's a message specifically tailored to them. Okay, let's look at some other ones. Hi, Gloria. I'm currently looking for a job with your organization. Kindly look at my attached resume and tell me what I should improve. Thank you. What do we think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Do we like this one? Do we not like this one? What did they do right? What did they do not right? What do we think? Oh, do we have a hand? Did somebody raise their hand?
Yeah, I think I saw hand too.
I think it went up and went down. Got a thumbs up. Okay. Anyone else? What do we think? I will tell you, I don't love this one. I think that this is too big of an ask. And it's asking specifically for a job at their organization when this person does not know anything else about you. So you're basically saying, hello, please give me a job. You're also giving them the extra work of looking at their attached resume and telling them what they should improve upon. And a lot of people charge for resumes. So this is kind of asking somebody to do free work for you. I think it's too big of an ask. Once you start a relationship with this person, once you talk to them more, once you consider them somebody in your network, that's when you can politely ask for some feedback on your resume. But this is not something that I would send as a first message. So if we look at a difference between this message and the previous message was just saying, hey, I saw that you work at Google. What do you like about your job? Can you tell me a little about what it's like to work there? Not too big of an ask, doesn't take too much of that person's time. This one is too big of an ask. So I'm basically saying, hello, give me a job, and please also look at my resume. Again, people are not going to be super comfortable referring people that they do not know because it'll reflect on them. So I would be very surprised if this worked. I'd be very surprised if somebody responded to this and say, yeah, sure, I will get you an interview at my company. What do you think, Katarina? You agree?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Also, like we don't know what Gloria's role is, but people are busy and they're not going to spend an hour to like review the resume and give some feedback for free. right? Like, and especially if you don't know them, and if somebody just came like and approached me like that, I would wouldn't definitely say no, because if I'm busy, I would rather like invest that like 1 hour into my work than helping somebody that didn't even take the time to like get to know me, just like straight went like and ask for help, right? Like it's like a very direct approach, especially if you don't know that person. It's completely different if you are like a friends with this person, right? Or like family relatives or like classmates, right? You can always like, you can try and like in email, message them this. But if this is the person that you are like first seeing, you just found on LinkedIn and you send them this, it's just like a big of an ask, and definitely they would not like, they wouldn't like even respond to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Katarina. We're on the same page. Also, like you said, we don't know who Gloria is. We don't know what her job is. Even if she is somebody in HR like yourself who does have the power to interview and potentially offer a job, like you don't know anything about this person. You don't know if they're qualified for the job. You don't know if they applied for the job through their website. You don't know what their skills are. You don't know what kind of job they're looking for. It's a very big ask for somebody that you know nothing about.
Exactly. And also you're not sure if like Gloria is qualified to actually look at your resume and tell you what you should improve.
Right. Awesome. Okay. I think we've got a couple more. Let me see. How many more do we have? Last one. This is the last one. Okay. Hi, Juan. I love the article you shared on benefits and compensation best practices for 2022 last week. I just completed my degree in business administration, human resources, and considering following a career path similar to yours. Is focusing on compensation something you would recommend for someone just beginning their career in HR this year? What do we think about this one? Thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, no. We got a thumbs up. All right. Yep. More thumbs up. I agree. I like this one. What do we like about it? I will say this one is a little bit lengthy. I don't know if LinkedIn would actually allow you to put this much text, but I like the general idea of it. Like I said, when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I think you have about 350 characters. It looks like this one's a little bit longer than that, but I do like the message that they're saying. Okay, I will tell you why I like this one, and you can let me know in the chat if there's anything else you like about it. Or if somebody thinks that it's not a good message, feel free to disagree. I'm okay with that. Just let me know why. Okay, so I like this one because, again, it's not too big of an ask. They're basically saying like, hey, this is something that I'm interested in. Do you think that this is a good idea? They can come back and either say yes or no, and here's why. Also very clear that this is a specific message. There's also a little bit of like flattery in this message in a nice way. You're letting them know like, hey, I love that article that you shared. I'm really considering following a career path that's similar to yours. So it's clear that you took the time to look at this person's profile, to read an article that they wrote or an article that they shared. So there's some flattery in there. And then again, not too big of an ask, just saying like, hey, I'm maybe interested in focusing on compensation. Is that something that you think is a good strategy right now in the HR market? And there's also a little bit about you. So you're letting them know that you just completed your degree in business administration, human resources. So it's got a little bit about the person to let them know that you've done your research and you're writing this message specifically for them. It's got a little bit about you, so they know a little bit about who you are and why you're reaching out. And then also an ask that's not too big of an ask. I'd say it's a realistic ask. Anything to add, Katarina?
No, I really liked it too. I think it's like it starts a conversation. And what I wanted to say before, it's sometimes I will receive a message on LinkedIn and it's something completely different that like what I do and what my company does. So that like you really need to, when you do your networking, you really need to find the people that are like the same sector as you, because they can provide like a very valid response. Like right now, if somebody emailed me this the same message on LinkedIn, I would be be able to help them because I'm in HR, I understand the sector. Like an example, like last week, I received a message from somebody that says, I'm an engineer. If you have any roles, let me know. That tells me that they didn't do a little bit of a research to see what I'm doing. I'm in the healthcare sector. There is no way that we ever going to hire engineers because that's not what we do. So just this tells me that person went on LinkedIn, found like a few people, didn't have any strategy. They were just like emailing everybody. So I think this is a really good, starts a really great conversation. And I'm sure that like Juan in this case is going to respond because A, like this person told them that they like their article, and B, they're asking a question about a career path in HR. So I like this. You're right, it's a little bit lengthy, so I'm not sure if it's going to fit on LinkedIn, but we just like tweaking it a little bit, and I think it should be fine.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for the feedback, Katarina. I like this one. I think this is a good one. So that is our last message. To summarize, we like this message. Again, it's a little bit about the person, a little bit about you, and a small ask. And we also liked, if I go back, we liked this message as well. Again, a little bit about the person. You're letting them know that they work at Google and IT. A little bit about you, that you're currently job searching and you're really interested in Google, and then a small ask as well. Awesome. Okay, so now let's jump over to LinkedIn. We've talked a lot about what to say when we're making these connections. Now let me stop sharing quickly and hop over to LinkedIn, and we'll talk about specifically how to find these people. So we've talked a little bit about connecting with people at specific companies. And we've also talked a little bit about connecting with people at your school or in specific industries. So let's hop on and I'll show you how you can find those people. So now that you know what to say, how to say those things. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted, we have one question where somebody's asking about recommending a free ATS to pre-check their resume. So I'm just going to share two ATS resume checker there for free. I use JobScan. I think I use the other one too. So definitely try them and see how they work. Just like a reminder, don't fully trust what this ATS resume scanner is going to tell you, because most of the time they're saying to you, okay, get the paid version so we can give you a little bit more information. Try and see how your resume match, but don't trust 100%, because sometimes the keywords that the ATS resume is using, the company might not use. So always remember that. So yes, it's a really good resource, but don't rely on that 100%.
Perfect. Yeah, I haven't used the skill syncer, but I'm a big fan of JobScan. There's also, all of you should have access to the Devant Career Center. If you're joining this webinar, you should have access to the Devant Career Center for free. And there's also a resume scanner tool in there that is very similar to the JobScan one. So that is an option as well. But feel free to pop it through multiple, because they're probably going to say different things. Awesome. Thanks, Katarina, for keeping an eye on the chat. Okay, let's hop over to LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn page. Let's do company first. Can somebody in the chat give me an example of a company, any company at all? A big one, a small one? Just the first company that comes to mind, Tesla. Okay, now let's do Tesla, and let's do an industry as well. So who do we want to talk to at Tesla? Do we want to talk to somebody in HR? Do we want to talk to somebody in engineering? Who do we want to talk to? Oh. Okay, we're looking for somebody in HR at Tesla. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the search bar. I'm going to type in Tesla, and I'm going to go to the company page. Tesla is a massive company, over 60,000 employees on LinkedIn. So I don't think it's going to be too hard for us to find somebody in HR, but we're probably going to have to narrow it down a little bit. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this People tab here. And this is going to show us all 60,000 employees that are on LinkedIn. Okay, start scrolling through. You can also see that right off the bat, it shows me people first who I have mutual connections with. So if I was somebody that wanted to work at Tesla, I know Miguel, I could reach out to Miguel and say, hey, Miguel, I saw that you're connected with Andy. Do you mind facilitating that connection for me? So makes it really easy for you. It shows you the people you have mutual connections with first. But we're looking for specifically HR. So I'm going to use the search box here. I'm going to type in HR, which is probably going to narrow it down a little bit, but we're still looking at over 1,000 people. So I'm going to filter it down a little bit more, and I'm going to look for HR specifically in Canada. So I'm going to go to where they live, and I'm going to put in Canada. So I'm looking for people who work in HR at Tesla who live in Canada. And that brings me down to 25, which is a lot smaller than 60,000 people. Again, if it's a smaller company, it's probably going to bring up like one or two. We've got a recruiting manager, we've got an HR manager, we've got a senior HR partner. So this is where I would take the time to go through and look at these people. This person I have mutual connections with, so she might be a good one to look at. And again, before I message this person, I'm going to look a little bit at their profile. We both worked at Shoppers Drug Mart. There you go. I could message this person and say, hey, I saw that you also worked at Shoppers Drug Mart. That's a great conversation starter. Another thing is typically I look at somebody's about section. It looks like her about section is a little bit short, but I can even just look down at her history. It looks like she's been a recruiter for many years, since at least 2010. It looks like 2004. So she's got almost 20 years of experience in the recruitment industry. That is something that I could say. So basically just look through this person's profile, learn a little bit about them. You could see she went to Brock. Maybe you went to Brock. Maybe that's a connection that you have. And then you would reach out and message them. Something in her profile is that you can actually send her a full length message right off the bat. So you're not limited to that 350 character limit. She has her messages open, so you can just reach out and connect and send her a message. But if I find an example of somebody else, I just go to somebody else's. No, these are all people who have messages open. So it's not helping. Let's see. Come on. Here's a good one. Okay. Oh, actually, I think it's letting me message because I have LinkedIn Premium, so I can message people. That is what it is. If you don't have LinkedIn Premium, this is going to look a little bit different. You'll instead have to connect with them. So what you want to do is hit the connect button. And then right away, instead of clicking send, we're going to click add a note. And this is where we have, oh, it's actually 300 characters. We have 300 characters to send them a message. So this is where I would say something like, hello, here's a little bit about you to prove that I looked at your page. Here's a little bit about me, so you know who I am. And then a small ask. So like, why am I connecting with you? Okay. So that's how you find somebody from a specific company. You could also do this. I'll show you quickly. I know we're almost out of time. I'm also going to show you for a school. So if I go on McMaster, the first school that came to mind, you can see that when you go to a school page, instead of like the company where it comes up as people who work there, at a school page, it actually comes up as alumni, which is a really cool tool because you can go to your school page on LinkedIn and see all of the people. And so right away, I already have something in common with over 100,000 people. So I can connect with these people and right away I can say, hey, we both went to McMaster. Here's our common ground. Here's our conversation starter. Okay. And again, you can filter it down. You can search by what they study. You can search by what company they're currently working at. So that's a good strategy as well for finding specific people. Okay, now let's hop back to the slides. We've only got about 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure if you have any questions that we are able to answer them. So let's spend a little bit of time answering questions. Have we missed any in the chat? No?
No, I don't think so. I think we addressed all of the questions. If we
Awesome.
missed a question, please like type it again. I'm sorry, but I was keeping track and I think we answered all of the questions. I'm going to share again. I know I shared at the beginning, but I'm going to share again the link to all of the Devon's event, like for this month. So you can check the event and sign up. They're all free events available to you, like for August.
Awesome. Thanks, Katerina. I think we have a slide in here actually that shows the upcoming events as well. Yeah, so these are just our next 4, but if you want to see the full schedule, you can click on that link. We've got our career cafe next week, which is basically an hour with 2 career coaches, and you can ask them whatever you would like in that hour. So if you have a burning question, it's a really good event to attend. The next one is that immigration Q&A that I was talking about. So we have a Canadian immigration lawyer who comes. You can ask them all types of questions about working, living in Canada, what you can and can't do on your student visa, things like that. August 30th is navigating different types of resume formats. So if you're struggling to write your resume, that's a great one to go to. And then September 6th is one of our expert panels. So we have I think 2 people who work in data science who are coming, and it's kind of industry information as well as a Q&A. So if data science is something that you're potentially interested in, that would be a great event to attend. Also a great way to build your network because you can then connect with the panelists and the attendees afterwards. Yes, all Devant events are at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. So we have an event every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So, okay. And then I do just have to include this slide. If you are interested in some additional services, these unfortunately are not included for free, like the Devant portal and the events, but we do have some deals right now. I think we have a resume deal right now. So the resume service is discounted, but Devant does offer lots of additional services as well. If you would like to talk one-on-one with a career coach, that is something that we offer. We also do a LinkedIn audit. So if you need some help with your LinkedIn profile, we audit your LinkedIn profile and give you some suggestions for that. And then also resume and cover letter writing. So if you are writing a resume or you want some feedback on your resume and cover letter, we can actually just write them for you or give you feedback on the ones that you already have. So again, unfortunately, these are not free. They are an additional charge, but you can find everything you need to know about these on the Devant website. Like I said, I think the resume one is discounted a little bit right now. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left. Any final questions, friends, before we head out?
I think there is a question that says, will we receive the notifications via email? I'm not sure if you addressed that about the events.
Oh, so if you receive Devant emails, you very likely will receive an email just reminding you about the event. You probably received one earlier today about this event. You usually like to send reminder emails for upcoming events. So you should receive those, or social media is also good. If you follow Devant on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, you should get notifications about upcoming events on there as well. And you will receive the recording for this usually tomorrow. So usually the following day, but you should get the recording in your inbox if you would like to rewatch it. All right, so I'm gonna pop my LinkedIn in the chat if you would like to connect afterwards. After all, this is a networking event, so you can practice on Katerina and me sending those connection messages. You can connect with us and send us a little message. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'm sure we will see you soon at another event. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.